Oh, there we go. Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake, Chats 2017. Gotta warn ya, I went to see a movie, and so my sunshine is having a reunion right now, so you may see a little bit of sunshine. She likes, when I record, she likes the sound of my voice. So, just, there's her tale, so just be okay with that, hopefully. I'm here to tell you another tale of interest and sparkliness. And it dawns on me that, where I come from, synchronicity, well, that's about assigning meaning and significance to something that another person may see no meaning and no significance in, right? Yeah. So some people see a lot of synchronicity and some don't see any. And I happen to live within it, so I've learned how to use it, and I've done a lot of work with it in my time. And so synchronicity is something that is sort of a language in the end, and it requires active participation. For it, at a certain level, I finally got to the place where I said, okay, here we go. From here on out, I want my synchronicity to be like in neon letters, 10 feet tall, and I want jokes attached to them. I want it to be funny. I want it to be easy and light and all that stuff. So synchronicity, I want it to be something that will make me laugh out loud, make me feel hugged, and all that stuff. And so that's kind of, and I get the feel. There's a feeling that I get when certain activities occur. And then through the years, too, the guidance becomes very strong when I'm in a field of synchronicity, and it is blossoming or cresting, and there's something to be learned. So, and that's what happens. So this is what I want to do. I want to explain the last little bit, and then I want to give you the gift of what they told me while I was watching this movie. And then they are 2222. They very much want to channel. I'm not really sure if I want to do that after this or not on the same tape. So I may do a second tape. And I'm skippy. So here's the idea. I was given this really tremendous gift, and the last video I did is a tremendous gift. It's a big deal. And removing myself from this land of approval and disapproval, of judgment, and feeling a physical release, and then feeling the release of that doom feeling that used to hover around me. And these energetic changes that are, for me as an energetic creature, undeniable, and I can trust it. And that's the part that's the component that's different, because before it was always that I didn't have the vision, but now I can see a little bit further, as I've said. So it was a very, very large gift, spiritually or energetically or whatever you want to call it. And I felt very complete in many different ways after that. Yesterday was a very unusual day. I put myself in situations where I met people who I know I'll be involved with later. I positioned myself in a building that was pretty much dark and lit that up with passion and a little bit of rage. And it was a really, really amazing day. But like razor sharp. And I did, the tasks that were in front of me, and I did them well, and I got the information I needed, and I moved forward. And it was really just perfect. So it was a day to retire from feeling good, but to be honest with you, all day yesterday I didn't feel right. There was a part of me that was off. And when that part is around, things tend to go south, and they didn't. But that feeling was still there. I don't know how to describe it except for feeling, but it's a feeling of doom, of just there's something I need to be aware of that's going to happen that may otherwise take me by surprise, and either way it's going to tax my system. Pretty much. And that's indeed what happened. And so now it's better for me now. I understand that what that feeling means. It just is more of a, you strap in, you're gonna be of use. Okay, all right, here we go. And I had a lot of benefits. It was great. But afterwards, I watched the news, which was exceedingly dark. And then this morning I spent going down the rabbit hole really, really deep. And while I was driving, they said, we've never allowed you to go that far. Let us explain what's going on here. So what had happened yesterday is, in amongst all the other things that I did, for some reason I needed to learn more about Antares. So I actually just did something I hadn't done before. I YouTubed Antares. And I found 4 transmissions that Suzanne Lee did, who is a very accomplished channeler, way back in the 90s, from the Antarians. And I thought, well, I think it's best to listen to this. And it blew me the hell away. I posted them. The second one, it was talking about dimensions and light and dark. It was saying the stuff that I'd gotten that had soothed my soul. You could see it. I mentioned it. I channeled some information in writing. Well, sure enough, that information came through in Suzanne Lee's tapes. And one of the things was they gave me a circle, and I argued with it because it's supposed to be a spiral, and he said no, and this has been coming through the last few times. No, it's a circle for you. I think I may actually even write this one down and give it away, but it's not an 8. Today it's a circle. And they keep telling me to think about the possibility that everything is in that circle. And then in the second tape that I posted from Suzanne Lee, they talk about the circle. And it's from there they discuss the continuum of light and dark. They go on in the 4th tape to talk about anchor points and things like that. And it's very, very, very helpful, highly esoteric, very demanding energetically, and it's the teachers. The first 2 minutes of the first tape, and I was just crying. It's like, oh my God, there they are. Oh God, that makes sense. Because the information is so, oh my God, and the feeling of it, oh my God. Well, on that second tape, it talks about breaking out of prisons. They explain that light and dark, well, that's relative. If your consciousness is stationed at the 6th, then your light is going to be from the 9th, and your dark is going to be anchored into the 4th. But if you're on the 3rd, and you're low on that spectrum, these are agreement fields. They are morphogenic fields of consciousness. They are dimensions, but they are also biologically expressed as agreement fields. Morphogenic fields, which have behavioral components. Anyway, if your consciousness is on the 4th, then you're going to get your light from, the 7th maybe? Whatever. And you're going to be anchored, your lowest point, your darkest point is going to be in the 2nd. And I heard that, it's like, oh, that makes so much sense. You never want to go there. That is someplace you don't want to go. 1st and 2nd, no. The teachers wouldn't, even in the car today, they refuse to discuss anything about the 1st dimension. 2nd, yeah, they got a couple things to say. But in this transmission that is actually, it's the 2nd tape. I want to capsulize it because it's very profound. I really suggest that if it tickles you, that you listen to it, because even if you don't understand it, and believe me, I know that sometimes you hear things you don't understand them, and that fourth tape especially, it's like, consciously I understood very little, but boys, my life changed ever since. That's how the eclipse is going to be too. That's how a lot of energetic events are. You don't get them consciously, you get them energetically, and then you have to live them out, think them through. And in this case, it just was it was just a really profound experience for me. They said, we're going to the second dimension. We're going to the prisons. We're going to the pieces of yourself that you have imprisoned, so that they will not bring your full consciousness down. And they've been quarantined. And so there's an amethyst in your right and a clear quartz in your left, and you go below into the prison. And they said, in front of you, then, in one of the cells, there is a wizard. And because he could, because he wanted to, and he could, he created a monster. And they are engaged in lethal battle. And you walk up to the cell, open it, and interrupt. And they say, "What are you doing here?" You say, I've come to take you home. It's time to cease. It's time to stop. It's time to bring you within me. Why should we go with you? Because I claim you as mine. You're my darkest point. You are me. I am you. And hasn't all of this been shadow work? And I've talked about, using the metaphor of seeing anger and seeing resentfulness, or whatever it is that you want to put to bed, seeing them as what they are. They're little children who've been put way too much for far too long, and they're totally exhausted, and all they really need is a mommy and a nap. And maybe a bath first. Gosh, it was a long haul. Putting a 7-year-old in front of a oncoming bus and saying, "Okay, hit it, deal with it." I did an essay a long time ago called Trinity that talks about that. But the idea here is to release, to take within you, to not quarantine anymore. The portions of you that are just, you don't want to accept as yours. But there they are, screaming and yelling and hitting and spitting and kicking and loving every minute of it. So, and then you keep going to cells and keep letting them out, bringing them in. Teachers would always talk about that. You just bring it in. So that was interesting. So I had all that experience, of course. That was really cool. And then there was more, the fourth tape. Whoa. I haven't even given myself the fourth tape again. I need to listen to it again because I have no conscious memory of what was said. But I know it's like seminal, so I have to listen to it again. And that's Susan Lee talking about from Antares. There was an Antarian transmission she got in the 90s and wouldn't release because it talked about disaster. And it's really pretty much just, what I am. Is what they said, that in their understanding of what a warrior is, it's not someone who prefers battle, it's someone who can handle themselves in battle. It's always a last resort, but it's not off the table. And they're very powerful entities and a very powerful race. So it was nice to check in with them. And then today I went down the rabbit hole. And so I'm driving to my sister's house to go to the movie house, and they say, we told you we really have to encourage you to spin off this energy when you go down, when you do a dive, because haven't we told you it's sticky? Because there's this film that was on everything. And then I sat down and I watched an inconvenient sequel. Now this is after doing a deep dive into the deep state, both from a really, really recent recording from ex-CIA, and it's pretty dire, about the police state and all that stuff. And then Laszlo did one on stuff. If you want to keep your sanity, don't watch this one about aliens. And of course, I watched it, and I saw footage that I have not seen before. It was the real freaking deal. And so I'm driving to the movie house, and they're saying, well, okay, here's the deal. You got a tremendous amount of light. You managed it well. And then you got the opposite. That's the idea. How much light can you contain? Well, then, baby, that's how much dark you have inside. You gotta, and that's why you got that dose. And now we have a gift. And then I went and saw that movie. And I'm left with a few thoughts. I'm left with a great deal of thinking yet to do. But as you know, I see things through spiritual lenses and through former teachings I had, which were prophecy. They were not just teachings. It was an insert that was given so that we would have people around who could explain things when the time came, and do it in a way that didn't involve, anybody thinking it was a seance or anything, but just normal human beings, right? And here's Al Gore in this piece of work that is at once revolutionary and spiritual, holy. Why it's not on YouTube for free? Every human being on earth, I think, needs to watch, because he brings up all of it. This infection we have of consciousness of death. It just was just amazing. Hey, it doesn't matter. Okay, fine. There's a base in Dulce, New Mexico, and there's all this nasty ass stuff going on. It's really deep, and it's like freaking parasitic infection. They're parasites. So I'm watching this movie, and I have to say a few things, okay? As a futurist, and who's not representing a country, but who's representing ascension and earth changes and stuff. First of all, my formal training explained that there would come a time when there were earth changes, and it would be imperative to do a few things. Gather some food and water and have it available, and be able to live off the grid for a few days. They said that. Well, that makes sense. Have a plan in place with your loved ones so that if the grid goes down, or if the grid goes down, you know what to do. Just talk about it. They always said that. And then this would all come up, and I go, oh my God, well, I'm gonna be in a cataclysm, and I'm gonna be on a nice vacation, and that's when the volcano is gonna blow. And they said, no, you're gonna listen. You're gonna be placed where you need to be placed. When it comes time, you're on a grid, and you are part of it, and you'll be moved. So be open. The only way that you can do this wrong is to not listen or to not respond to what you're being told. But you won't do that. You're going to listen. That's what they told me. So that's the first thing. The second is what Cryon has to say about this change in the environment. And then I'll tell you what I know. He explains that yes, we're heading into a mini ice age. Prior to having a mini ice age, there is a heating up. This was scheduled to happen, but not for quite a while. But we have increased it, intensified it, and gotten to this place. But I couldn't but grin at the very few minutes of watching this movie and seeing that there has been a massive shift on this earth since the 80s. Yeah, it has to do with consumption. It has to do with the grids, too. The magnetic grids were on the move during that time. They remain quite flexible. And that adds to instability, of course, but it's part of the deal. Cryon explains that the heating and the cooling is a way for the oceans to refresh. for Mother Earth to take a deep breath and to come back into a springtime with a humanity that's ready to rock and roll. And I do think that there's a lot out there that's psyops, it's propaganda, and it really just requires discernment at a certain point. And then if it doesn't feel good, it's yammer. It's designed to make you scared and feed off your adrenals. So, it's up to you whether you're going to do it or not. But that's what's happening right now, is there's a shift going on. So when I saw this movie and I saw the water and I heard them, and they were explaining, part of this is just to see your role in all of this too, and to see that, he carries weight because he has done the work. And he's been tireless and ceaseless, and he has a message, and it drives his heart, and it makes him a good man, and it makes him do good things, and it's bigger than him. It's planetary. And the message was, I've always known, I haven't always been in context. And then I see something like that who's like really just not walking around with the weight of the world on his shoulders, but actually activating people, empowering people to speak truth to power all across the land. I didn't understand about the Paris agreement, and now that I'm fully aware of what happened there. What Donald Trump did is despicable. It's an illness. But this is what comes through again and again today, after all of this up and down and in and out and exploration and consolidation, is this. This is a song of hope. The point of this is that this darkness, this obsession with greed and the rape of the earth, and bankers holding nations hostage so they can't get solar because the interest rates are too high. Well, Gore kind of looked at that and just said, okay, well, I guess we'll have to do a workaround, and put a workaround in place. Fine, you don't want to cooperate with this? Well, fine. You don't have to. We're going to do it anyway. But he's created bridges, and he has authority, and he is seen as a good guy because his message is so pure. And so it's just a very beautiful thing. And I see from all of this, I just want to say, it doesn't matter what they do. You know it does. But what I'm getting at is, this squeezes people to the place where they stand up and do the right thing. There was that terrorist attack the day, 4 hours into a 24-hour global conference. It was a global radio broadcast that Mr. Gore was doing, based in Paris, and just down the road, there was a really, it was a terror kind of thing, with hostages and shit like that. And they shut down that broadcast. And then the Paris Climate Agreement meetings occurred. And in solidarity, world leaders stood up and said, we're with you. Had that terror incident occurred, do you think they would have been in the same place? Maybe not. But it's just far too coincidental. It's an MO. And it makes you wonder who's really doing the terrorism. Could it possibly the one who keeps screaming, it's a terrorist attack? Certainly governments. the corporatists. That's my inference, not Mr. Gore's. But the idea here is that, yeah, they can be hooked up. You and I might know that they may be hooked up to some really pretty powerful entities. They're not as powerful as human beings. Good God. That's the point. And just as Crayon said, he said, don't lose faith when you see the news, because it's going to look really dire. What you got to remember is these kids with sticks laughing at how much fun it is to hit this hornet's nest, convincing themselves as they whack it that the hornets are going to be so scared they're never going to come out. Keep whacking. Take away healthcare. Go ahead and try. There's so much that'll be exposed. So much. And it's going to be human ingenuity and a dismissal of this falseness where we don't care about each other. And all this authoritarian, it's just, honey, in the face of a tornado, in the face of a flood, do you think you're going to care? You're going to see that selfish Republican governor for what he is. And it may take floods. It may take storms. It may take that. Let me remind people, there was a choice that was a valid legal one that could have been made by the American people way back when. And both parties told him to leave. Bernie Sanders. There was a choice for rationality, equality, sanity. It was not chosen. And here we are. So if the madhouse is going to happen, it's going to happen. But if it's happening, isn't it helpful to know exactly what's going on? To have a different viewpoint, perhaps. And yes, to get the hope that a beautiful man like Mr. Gore would be able to give us through the act of communicating. But in our own minds and hearts, remembering, as human beings, what language do we speak? We speak the language of mother and child. We speak the language of love. That's what we understand. That's why we've been so kind about these horrible things. And we've let things go. And we've been seen as not very wise, not very able to think for ourselves. It's not we who are going to change next. It's them. We've hit critical mass. It's done. The light is astounding, and it's brilliant. They can't survive. It's been said for a long time. It's also been said, the dark dies hard. Think of it instead like the confusion that would flash across a prisoner's mind while they're in the middle of a fight that might end up in getting shivved or shivving somebody. Where the only thing that is in right front and center is survival and raw emotion. That's not humanity. That's a humanity that's serving something else other than their higher nature. A different program expressing in a lower agreement field. And like it or not, the light quotient has gone up. And so remaining there, well, you can do that, but you won't be visible at a certain point. It'll be a different reality for them. And I could go on with that, but I'm not going to explain it too much right here. So everyone is where they need to be and where they want to be further. None of this is like, I'm not cool with my assignment. It's not an assignment. So the eclipse, is it a chance to make a leap? Well, I think it's a chance for me. I've been thinking about it a lot. I listened to the thing about America and Trump in August. This really cool astrologer. She's so cool. But what she had to say about eclipses was really pretty profound, because he's having an eclipse in his North Node, as I did. Trump is having that happen on the eclipse here coming up, and I had mine in February, and it was intense. And she said, you're not going to see the full blossom of this for 3 to 4 months, but this is the opportunity for a new life, not for an improved life, but a new reality. When you have an eclipse on your North Node, and I had mine on my ascendant at my degree. And that's pretty much what's happening to Trump, which I think is kind of unusual. But hearing her talk about it was very helpful, because I didn't really understand the import. But it's true that, landfall was made, I would say, in July. And there's a certainty, a surety in me that there wasn't before, and a degree of comfort that I had only hoped for. And so the times that are coming up are pretty profound, and I think that a lot of people, I've heard from a lot of people, who are just going through a time of just not knowing exactly what's going to happen next, where it's just not cool to move. So some people are in that place. Makes sense before an eclipse, doesn't it? Because we're already in the zone. So I'm just offering a few ideas today. And I saw this arc of going from really big light to sort of a dip, and down into the rabbit hole, down into stuff that I know now I can explain to myself better and I understand better, into a place of physicalness that had unity as its theme, and then coming here and realizing that this really is just a unification of expression. And that all expressions, like I've said, are valid. And what expression causes me the most comfort versus the most discomfort, I guess. But then at a certain point, it's just like just being and not monitoring anymore. And it's that prickly monitoring that's beginning to ease a little bit. So I just wanted to give you a couple gifts. I do want to channel. I'm thinking that they have quite a lot to say. I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but they've been buzzing me for about 4 days. And they said they were talking to me in the car, and they said, this is something that we don't want you to say. We want to say it. It's our stuff. So all right. I don't want to steal your thunder, guys. So they'll come through next.